Oh, wee podcast idea. Here we go. How about we do a podcast on yacht sales? Whoa. We actually here again?
Oh,
This is your fault. This is your fault.
my fault. You're the one who set everything up.
Oh. Well, I guess. I mean, I kind of wanted to do a podcast on Foundry, and you were like, yeah, we used to do one, and then we should try to start it up again. And I was like, okay. So, anyway, I'm Admiral Murphy.
And I'm Wee or
We don't know.
I
We'll figure it out by the end of the show,
I
though.
don't even know.
Or not this show, but maybe the end of our run. But we'll figure out exactly how to spell Wee Wee's name. Until then, we've got Foundry stuff to be talking about. So what is Foundry Files? We are a podcast entirely devoted to the Foundry. Mission making, mission reviews, news, community feedback on the Foundry, and so much more. Basically, anything that's tied in with Foundry, we will be covering in this podcast. Again, we used to do this in Stoked for a segment called Foundry Files, which we only reviewed about an episode a week, but now we're expanding that into a full-on podcast with all Foundry news. So, I guess since we're talking about Foundry news, we should just go right into it, wee, huh?
I agree. Yeah, let's go to it.
Alright, so not much news this week within Stowe or Neverwinter on the Foundry that we can pull from, but there is just a little bit wee Stowe Foundry news, which is Foundry Contest 4 was just wrapped up and the winner was announced. Who was it, wee?
The mission Relics by Cookfat.
Woo, go Kirk Fat! Congrats, I think he's like 1,000 C points richer now or something. Z points, come on, I'm sorry. I mean, I mess that up all the time now just because they change the stinking name every couple of months. They went from like C points to Atari points, back to C points, and now it's Zen, and then probably next month it will be like, I don't know. We can do a poll on that later. Anyway, yeah, so Kirk Fat won, Relics. The contest was something about discovering an ancient secret on a ship or something like that, 1,000-year-old secret that will change your captain's view of space travel forever, something like that. And just a cool idea to see a whole bunch of missions around a prompt like that. And it's really cool because I've played a few, but not many, of where you can see the different ways they build the mission to where you can kind of see the prompt. But again, they take them out in so many different ways. It's kind of interesting. Now, the only contest I really participated in was the one Starbase UGC had with the bug ship, and it was really cool because they had like 20 submissions, so you saw all these authors, 20 different ways in telling a story on how just to get the bug ship. And it was cool. I mean, each one had its own unique feel, but it's still tied back into acquiring a bug ship for your faction or whatever, and that was cool.
And that bug ship in your mission, I happen to get.
He's going to rub that in for this podcast because everybody likes doing it because I didn't get one. I have not gotten one. It's my favorite alien ship. So if you're watching this podcast, send one in to Foundry Files. Just say, hey Murphy.
Or don't.
Or don't. No, send one in. Anyway.
We got enough already. One's enough, I think.
Nuh-uh. I don't have one. You got one. That doesn't count. Don't listen to him. He's crazy. His camera's probably going to freeze in a minute anyway. Calling you out. Sorry. But yeah, they haven't announced Foundry Contest 5 yet, but I'm interested in seeing it, and I'm interested in actually playing some of these missions in the future, because I haven't gotten involved with much of the contest, and maybe that's because now my Foundry slots, again, are limited to ideas. Do you have any plans on doing these Foundry Contests, or what's your opinion on?
I'll probably be interested in a few of them if should any interesting ones crop up in the future. Right now, I have no immediate plans to do it, but should
Hmm.
ever a scenario appear in one of these contests which I'm interested in, then yeah, I'll probably give it a go.
I think that's what I do too. So like for the bug ship contest that Starbase UGC had, when I heard that prompt, an idea immediately popped into my head that I loved. I think that's what most authors are going to do. Is if they see a prompt that they really like, that snap, they have this mission idea immediately sparking there. They're like, that could be a winner. I think that's when they go make it, and that's when I enter. So I'll be interested in seeing what Foundry Contest 5 is. I'm going to make a quick prediction on what it is, just to see and see how far off I am. I want it to have something to do with Tholians. That means put them in the Foundry. That was a terrible prediction, I know, but I just
That was a
wanted to.
terrible
It
prediction.
was terrible, but I want Tholians in the Foundry so bad that I want it to. Because, you know, they're doing so much around the Tholians right now, I could totally see them doing a Tholian contest. Or at
Oh,
least something that mentions them. That's my prediction. I'm making as far out there to see if how close we can get or how far off we can get. But something to do with Tholians or time travel again. I know they did one a little bit ago, but something with this time travel or alternate realities, because it seems like those are the two things they're really sticking to right now. And I'd be interested to see if they're going to continue to stick to that with the Foundry contest. All right, should we get into mission reviews, wee wee? All right, before we get into our first review on Foundry Files, woo, party. Anyway, before we get into our first review, we should explain that Foundry Files takes a very unique way to scoring Foundry missions from the game and also other Foundry podcasts. A lot you listen to either just talk about it or they'll give it like star ratings. Well, I hate star ratings. Wee cries over them and how bad they are. So we have our own scoring system here that was developed when Foundry Files first started over at Stoked. And we score missions in 3 different categories: story, technical, and gameplay. And it's these 3 categories we can break up a mission into and say these are the 3 main categories that make up a mission within Star Trek Online. And then we have a whole bunch of subcategories within that for like story, technical, and gameplay that we'll go into that we score between 0 and 10. And after adding all these scores up and averaging them out, we get our overall score for a Foundry mission. But let's get into some of these subcategories so you can know what a little bit about them and what goes into them. So I'm going to start with story here. And what makes up the story is stuff like plot. Is it great? Does it make you feel like, oh, this is like City on the Edge of Never epic writing that is going to be remembered for a while? Or is it just like a plot with major holes in it? Like why would Cleons go to Ryza, break open crates, and steal the booze during this diplomatic meeting? I mean, come on, Cleons aren't like that. They're not just going to crash a party and be like, oh, we're going to misbehave like college students. And then we've got characters. Are they detailed like some of the favorite characters from Star Trek that we've seen in all the episodes? Or are they just there to say, oh, there's a box over there with some booze in it. Go destroy it, Cleons. I'm calling a mission out, by the way, but no offense if that author's listening. I don't think he plays anymore, but it was probably just a joke mission. Anyway, we're going to go on tangents, I can tell. So then we've got stuff like dialogue, canon usage, touchstoning. That's an interesting one. So touchstoning is basically a way of saying that does a mission pull from previous Star Trek canon and incorporate it into the mission, such as for my series, I pull from the canon from Deep Space Nine, where some Jem'Hadar were getting weaned off the white. I took that idea and also the idea that some wanted to be free and fought for it, and just made a whole group that now is fighting for their freedom in Star Trek Online. And that's what one of my Foundry series is based off of. And then there's another one that Rogue Enterprise made, who we will actually be reviewing one of his missions coming up here, so stay tuned. But he made a mission called First Cause and Effect, which is basically the same principle as the TNG episode where they were stuck in that time loop going over and over again. His mission is basically the same thing, a little different, but he does name out that episode. It's not a continuation of that as much, but it's more of calling back to that event and saying, hey, this is an anomaly that's kind of the same thing. Maybe we can use past history to get us out of this.
And then you've got missions like Not Our War, which is really a continuation because it depicts the battle in
Heck,
the
you get to
first
live in it.
bit of Season 6 of Deep Space Nine.
Heck, you even get to be part of it, which honestly, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, then we throw in grammar and spelling mistakes because, come on, in the dialogue, you don't want huge mistakes around there and stuff. And we don't really see that much. We see maybe a few here and there, but we haven't really played a bad mission where it's just like, wow, what are you trying to tell us here? I can't read it. There's like words that aren't words and stuff. So that's the story section. That's where we focus on all those cool story aspects that all those Trek fans love. Now let's go into technical, which a lot of Foundry authors really seem to care about. Like Alamak's a huge technical expert that we know of because he's able to make these cool maps and stuff. And there's a bunch of others out there. And really, why don't you go into a bit of the technical categories here?
Yep. We've got things like map usage, techniques, how the map's designed, how they put together. We've got art asset usage, are the assets in the Foundry well used, is the rock in this position correct, and that kind of thing. We've got transitions, how are the transitions between the maps used well, is there any pointless zoning, that kind of stuff.
Or are you
We've
skipping
got creativity,
zoning?
which can be both applied to both technical and story. Is there any wow moments? Does it make you go, oh wow, I didn't expect that coming? We've got things like user help. Is there detailed instructions, or is a player just going to find themselves completely unknown throughout this mission, saying, I have no idea where to go. How do I do this mission? And then one we all hate, the Foundry limitations.
Foundry authors
Because
hate
we
the
all
limitations.
know the Foundry is pretty limited inside itself, and the way authors design the mission is kind of revolving around that. I know of a few episodes where characters are designed to move, but it's only available in the dialogue. So I've actually come across a couple of missions where actually the characters are designed to actually stay there. They're built around a Foundry limitation. So it's this kind of thing. Is it plagued and uncorrected, or has the author completely avoided it altogether?
Yeah, it's definitely something Foundry authors are more willing to accept when they run through a mission as a Foundry limitation, because they'll just go, oh, that's something a Foundry author can't do. But your normal player isn't going to know that, sadly, because they're not educated in what Foundry authors have within the tool. So they'll just be like, why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that, and why can't I get more BOF points in my mission?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that type of stuff. So we don't score for BOF points. I'm just calling out a review I had on a mission where they complained, your mission didn't give me enough BOF points, 1 star. And I'm sure Foundry authors all had that. That would be a good thing to get feedback on. It's just this terrible reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Game Master Wee Wee. He's been our game expert since the show launched. Can you tell us how you score those gameplay and how I score them?
Well, I score them, and you sort of score them. But anyway, we have gameplay. It's divided in both space and ground. We've got combat. Those are 2 separate sections. So focusing on the non-combat, which is the gameplay, and then the actual combat. How are the mobs designed together? Is it like Denatra and Sealer and KA and Cutting the Cord respectively, or in the ground is it like Armic of Borg, who we all hate, in the Cure?
Like a
or is it
grind
just
fest.
like a patrol mission where you go into the system, shoot 5 things, and then go out again? So it's that kind of thing, of that aspect. We've got things like puzzles and minigames. Those are things which are pretty self-explanatory. We've got branching dialogue, faction, character level. Is there a trailer for it? Those are pretty much yes or no's. They're not actually scored itself.
But it's
'Cause we
info
can't-
people like to have.
It really is an opinion of how well the puzzles are put together and that kind of a thing. And we've got things like class issues and mission scaling. Is the player able to get this through this with like 3 weak sciences, or does he have to be 5 highly skilled tactical officers to get through this or something? And then we've got probably the most important one is replayability. Is the mission worthwhile in replaying again? Because we've seen in quite a few missions, number of missions, that the replayability isn't exactly there, but we have come across the odd occasion where there are alternate endings,
Like Captain Revis.
and there is some alternate dialogue.
Yeah, like Captain Revis, where you go into that alternate reality with the Borg, and at the end you're given a choice, which is kind of like a yes or no. What do I do? And basically that affects the end of the mission in a way, and that's something it is an alternate ending. You can either pick this ending at the end of the mission or this one. It's kind of hard to pull off stuff like that, but authors are finding ways to do it, and they're finding ways to make the dialogue in missions be different during your run-throughs and stuff, and give you choices. And I think as Cryptic continues to develop the Foundry, that will actually be more important as you go along, is making your mission multi-tiered. So that is how we score missions here on Foundry Files. Each of those categories gets a score of either 0 through 10, add it up, and then that makes our overall score that we give at the end of the review. Speaking of that review, with Rogue Enterprise and his mission, Own Worst Enemy, let's get on with it.
our first mission review, Own Worst Enemy. This was a mission we actually reviewed back on Stoked about 6 months ago, but due to technical difficulties and a certain airlock cannon,
Mm-hmm.
it was never actually put into an episode. So
No,
here
and
it is finally.
yeah, we lost. I think we recorded this segment 2 times.
Mm,
One had terrible audio. We lost the other one because Chris was like, "Oops, deleted it," and then the show got canceled. So, Rogue Enterprise, we owe you one review. So here it is: Own Worst Enemies. Can you give us a little of the basic information from the game on this one, Wee Wee?
Yep. As of this recording, it's got 2,486 plays.
Pretty good.
It's got an average star rating of 4.09, which is pretty much the same actually as it
Yeah,
was
we
when
checked
reviewed
because
it.
we updated this from the last time we reviewed this in our recording, which was a couple months ago. And it was funny because the average star rating has stayed the same. So that's consistency since then.
Yeah, it's consistency fire. It's designed for solo play this mission as well, and it's written by Rogue Enterprise, as we mentioned earlier, who authored the highly successful mission we have previously covered on our second review, First Cause, Then Effect.
Fun mission. Great time travel one, so check it out if you like time travel.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's get into story. In this mission, you've been given the objectives to test out a transwarp conduit with some new equipment that will allow Starfleet to begin to invade Borg space directly. However, your trip through the conduit turns out to take you right back to where you started after some combat with some Borg probes. However, you aren't really back where you started. After engaging the USS Victory, the head ship from Battle Group Omega, it opens fire on you after a suspicious hail, and you're like, what the crap? You're Starfleet right? No, because you are in the Mirror Universe. Ba ba ba! Ah. Anyway, I'm not making that sound again. Ever. That is the last time you will hear me ever make a scream like that on this podcast. In fact, future me, never make that sound again on this very podcast, because if I do, I'm going to punch myself. Alright, where were we? Alright, so yeah. The equipment you used to go through the passageway to transwarp yourself to Borg space or whatever is fried. They told you it's only good for one use. So now you're kind of stranded in the Mirror Universe with no hope of getting back. Originally you had hope of getting back from the Delta Quadrant because they're like, psh, Voyager did it, you can. Even though now you have more technology to travel space faster than Voyager did. But anyway, now you're trapped in this alternate reality. But there is a key to get back. Because the Mirror Universe version of your ship, it happens to be docked in the station next to this transwarp conduit. They're about to take about the same mission as you are, with the same equipment. So if you can beam over and capture this equipment, there might be hope to get back to the Prime Universe. So, overall, great mirror adventure story here. This was the first mission we reviewed where it's actually your mirror self is in this mission, or at least hinted to be. You don't actually talk to your mirror self. But mirror self is there. You do get to talk to your mirror boss, which is cool. And your mirror ship is there. And we're going to talk about that a bit in gameplay and technical, because you do get to fight your mirror ship and you have the option to blow it up. And that's cool. I mean, all the other Foundry missions we've played, it's usually you up against just random Mirror Universe NPCs, or Mirror Universe NPCs of other characters that you've talked with. Like, say you talk to an Admiral, then you meet the Admiral's mirror self who wants to kill you. But this is the first one, and still the only one I've played, where it's actually your mirror ship. Which we see that all the time in the Star Trek episodes. We don't just see random Mirror Universe people. We always see the Mirror Universe duplicates of the characters we know and love. Like Hoshi. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway. So, this is a great adventure for that. And I think it's what most people just want in Stowe generally, is to take their Mirror Universe self on. And this author managed to pull that off in a great way. Now, there aren't any other major characters in this mission. But the major characters in this mission is you. And come on, what can be better than you being the major character and your mirror duplicates being the major characters in the mission? And that is what I think is really nice, because in a lot of Stowe missions and Foundry missions, you're kind of there along for the ride as random other NPCs tell you the story. In this one, you're making choices, your boffs are telling you stuff, your mirror boffs are trying to kill you and all that stuff, and it's awesome. So, really fun there. There were a few grammar errors we ran across through our playthrough. Nothing major. It was just a few stumbles where we're like, that sentence could be better worded, but nothing major. And because of all these great stuff in the story, we scored it an 8.0. Perfect 8.0. It's our 11th ranked mission in story, so pretty good for story. Next up is technical. So let's get into some of the technical stuff that makes this Foundry mission. I think we could say if the story and gameplay for this mission sucked, like we scored it a 2 or something, even though we've never done that, we'd still probably cover it because the technical stuff on this was awesome. Wouldn't you agree, Wee?
I absolutely.
Yeah, so great technical work on this mission. The author has managed to pull it off to where he can have your mirror universe ship spawn. Now, there are a few ships left out in the author's workaround, like if you fly an Odyssey. So far, you cannot set up an Odyssey in the mission unless he's updated that since our last playthrough. But there are some ships in there that if you fly like a Tholian ship or whatever, he's not going to be able to spawn the mirror universe duplicate of it. But the way he has it set up is that there's this little mini puzzle where the equipment you use needs a passcode in order to work, and it also needs to be configured to your ship. So you have to give it a whole bunch of information. So you tell it what rank you are, what class ship you fly, what's its design, like is it an Intrepid or a Defiant or something like that. And so then you get a code, and this code tells the game what ship to spawn when the author needs that your mirror ship spawned. So when you plug in the code, mirror ship spawns, you are fighting it or doing something with it, and it's a really cool way to get the mirror ship to spawn in the mission. And I think if the author was to go back and touch up this mission, I know they've added some of the new, some other mirror ships into this, or other ships into the Foundry, like the Odyssey and stuff. Update it so those can spawn as well. It might be difficult, but this is an aspect of the mission that truly makes it great. I mean, if you just look at that, this mission is awesome. Just because it is the only mission so far we've played that actually does this. So that makes it stand out against all the rest, and it's awesome. There was a lot of work into creating all the mobs with each costume of the ship, so great with that. Pretty good map design and a good use of art assets. I especially love the room where you beam over to your ship, and you know it's your mirror universe ship because it's Agni booths everywhere with torturing Bajorans and Romulans, and especially the Bajorans. That was fun. I mean, come on, they're Bajorans. I mean, they deserve to be tortured. Especially in the mirror universe, because you know what they bad Bajorans in the mirror universe, and they deserve their spanking, and now they're getting it. So yeah, we had some pretty cool transition scenes in that mission, like with the transwarp conduit, where you'd go into it, everything disappear, and you'd just be in this cool transwarp effect, and then you'd appear, and then the station would be back there, but it's the mirror universe self, and that's just some cool transition scenes that avoid loading screens. Because we all hate it when we hit those long loading screens. And in this mission, it does so much of avoiding that it's great. So bonus points there. Tech scored an 8.07, our 5th ranked in technical. Really good work here, Rogue Enterprise. All right, and on to gameplay from Master Gameplay Magician Wizard Admiral Wee Wee.
Anyway, let's start off with space gameplay, shall we? It was interesting. There's the basic stuff like route markers, interactable objects. And there are several points in this mission which included unique gameplay technical workarounds. This includes the different dialogue options to produce a different ship for every player based on their options, as Murphy explained. There are invisible walls to prevent premature combat during dialogue content, present throughout the ground, and it helps progress the story for the player without interference from enemy mobs. For example, there's an invisible wall, and you go to click OK for the next dialogue option, and all of a sudden there's a bog probe right next to you that's ready to shoot you and take you down. It's like, yeah, you didn't really need that, did you? These invisible walls will help prevent that sort of thing. So it's a really nice touch there. Speaking of that, space combat was enjoyable. There are overlapping groups, which makes it generally more enjoyable gameplay. That's good. Particularly enjoyable when the player fights their mirror ship. Brilliant, brilliant thing to have. The combat is linked to gameplay in different ways, and there are Borg ships that are encountered whilst at warp, to be more specific. Players, particularly role players, could enjoy this by remaining forward at warp whilst combating enemy ships.
I did that.
I did this.
I did it.
Yeah, I did that.
I was just like, I'm in a transfer conduit. I should just keep going forward, but then I think I screwed up something. So I was like, oops. But
yep.
I don't know. It was so long ago. I just the second playthrough, I actually turned around and fought him. But I think I screwed something up the first time. But yeah, role players are gonna definitely keep going forward in the transwarp content. It's like you can't turn in transwarp. But,
nope.
You know. What else
Combat
you have
is
to say?
straightforward in other cases, however. So just some nice, good touching points like that, but straightforward mostly. Ground gameplay, like space gameplay, was interesting. There were optional interactable objects present throughout the ground maps. This is a good addition because it gets the player involved and progresses the plot without spamming the objective menu. There's nothing beyond these achievements. It's mainly a space-orientated mission, so don't expect that much from ground as you do in space. But ground combat was straightforward. To try and make up for it, not really. There is no overlapping groups. The author tries to compensate for this with harder groups. We saw this in Temple of the Power Race, but it's not as effectively used in this mission. So ground combat somewhat lacking compared to space, and it could have been made up, but it wasn't really. There are a couple of puzzles present in this mission. First is not really a puzzle, it's more like a memory test. These are the dialogue options to determine your mirror ships, as Murphy covered, which is an excellent achievement. Second is conducting an autopsy on an assimilated crewman.
Oh yeah, that's
Troubling
fun.
puzzle if you don't know Borg anatomy. If this is the case, it becomes a process of elimination puzzle. Click option, next option, doesn't work, go back and try again. Easy for people who don't know Borg anatomy, whoever they are.
Ah, that's me. I don't
Gameplay
know.
overall scored a 7.65, which put it in third place.
Pretty good for gameplay. So if you just like to go and shoot crap, missions for you still. You can skip through all the dialogue, but come on, it's a Foundry mission. It's there for story. Read it. All right.
Mhm.
So Wee Wee, why don't you tell us what's our overall opinion of this mission?
Overall, this is a really fun mission, and the bonus that takes its place in the Mirror Universe. The highlight of the mission was the technical genius in creating a way to have the player Mirror Universe ships appear. This mission is well worth your time in Stowe.
Yeah, definitely check it out because it is a unique encounter in Stowe where you get to fight your Mirror Universe self. So very fun. Overall, 7.9. Sixth
Sixth
ranked.
place.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So check it out. I know we're planning to. I love the Mirror Universe. I think you love the Mirror Universe. We all love the Mirror Universe in a way. There's something that appeals there, and that's why it was so big in Star Trek is alternate realities. And is there a mirror reality where everybody's just evil, or they're complete opposite? I don't know if the Mirror Universe isn't complete opposite, but we all know it's pretty dark. And I think that's just so appealing to people. And I specifically, I played a couple missions out of a new series that hopefully we'll be reviewing in the future. But this author has created a Foundry series out there called, it's called Mirror Wars. And I just think it's so cool that this entire series is based on the premise of you playing your Mirror Universe self. So he tells you in the beginning, skin your ship so it looks a little Mirror Universe-y, like the purple nacelles. Like, you can't do that anymore because they're not purple anymore, which Cryptic, I'm sad. I like the purple nacelles. They were cool. But get your Mirror Universe outfits on and then just go play as your evil Mirror Universe self who's trapped in our reality now after he does a bit of time with the Mirror Universe event, but really fun. Check that out. We'll probably review it in the future, but Mirror Universe is awesome. I just want to say great job, Rogue Enterprise, for this awesome mission.
And on to our second review, Mud's Weapons. As of this recording, it has 164 players, an average rating of 3.96 star rating, which is good. And it's a story mission created by Starbucks UGC's very own Havra to show Cryptic what they should have done to release the nanopulse weapons.
Yeah, basically his whole premise for this mission was Cryptic kind of made a controversial choice with adding the nanopulse weapons because, come on, they look like lightsabers, and they released it when Stowe's competitor Tor came out. So they're like, hey, our competitor's making a game, let's celebrate it. And all the Stowe players were like, no, no. And Havros was like, can't you make it at least feel somewhat Star Trek instead of it being another way of Star Wars kind of going, heh, we're in your product. And so and he's like, oh, Foundry, idea, mission, made it, cool. So we're reviewing this for you, Havra, because this was amazing. Plus, it's his birthday today, apparently, when this episode's coming out. So I was like, well, it was on our to-do list. Happy birthday, Havra. Oh, plus, I got your shirt on that you had at the Vegas Con, so Bolian don't give a shit. But we do give a shit about this mission. So let's figure out why we love this mission. So, story. Nanopulse weapons. What does this all have to do in Stowe? Well, Hannibal Fredericks Mudd, a descendant of Harry Mudd from the original series, has offered a deal to sell prototype nanopulse weapons to the Federation. So you're called to make the deal and get these for the war effort. True to the Mudd name, the picture isn't 100% clear. Get it? Because it's Harry Mudd, so... Anyway, or with the Mudd name. Anyway, Mudd is also selling these weapons to the Klingons So it's up to you to find this hidden cache before the Cleons get their hands on it. So apparently nanopulse weapons now are going to be this major melee weapon that are going to change the war effort in some way. I can definitely see them as being a weapon you want to have if you're going hand to hand with a Cleon. So, because you can just, bam, their metal bat lift's done. You just cut it in half. So, but now the Cleons want them, so it's a race to get them, and they're hidden. So it's a search. The search is on as you try to find these weapons. Tons of interesting characters in this mission. There are so many in this. We have an event in Jupiter Force that we call Story Time with STO capital. It's funny. So what we do is we take a character and we read the dialogue. I had the privilege of reading Helena, who's in this mission. So, but everybody takes a different character, and there are tons. You've got the Doffs from your ship, who are going to be in this mission. You have the Cleon crew, who are also searching for the weapons from the other ship, and then you've got Harry Mudd's characters from his freighter, and they are all just so funny. The dialogue is so well written that all of the characters feel different, and that their dialogue gives them their own personality, their own attitude, their own way of looking at the world. And you can totally get that through reading the dialogue. It just feels different, interesting, and he's nailed the humor down in this mission. Can I just say, there is an Orion Android chemistry lab bot that's basically your own personal laboratory, but in Android form. It's also a fully functioning sex bot. So I'm just saying, nerds will love that if they love their chemistry. You also get this Orion. Anyway, fun part of that mission. Tons of great jokes with the different characters in this mission, what's going to happen. So great play on humor. I think he personally nailed down the humor. So I gave it a 10 in dialogue because I think he's nailed the humor down. He nailed down different dialogue for the characters. It was just great all around. Some of the best writing I've seen in a STO Foundry mission that really brought me into the story. There were no contradictions to canon in this mission, and some awesome touchstoning on Harry Mudd from the original series again, and the nanopulse weapons in the winter event, which that totally did not go off well, I think. At least with the nanopulse weapons with everyone. But he does some great touchstoning on explaining why in the Star Trek universe these exist. That thumbs up, great touchstoning there. Story received an 8.93, third place in our story category for Foundry missions across the board that we have reviewed. So great mission. I enjoyed the story. I think you enjoyed the story quite a bit, Wee Wee, right?
Yep, definitely.
But what about the technical? What do we have to say on that? Let's delve into that. So, all right, the maps that were used are pretty much the basic ones you get in the Foundry. Not much added to them. The space map, I think, was customized, though. That was a cool space map. But basically all we have to say on the maps is some of them could have been customized, but the maps used still fit with the story. So not every Foundry mission needs the epic, new, cool maps. This mission still works with the basic ones the Foundry gives you. So, very fun there. Transitions could really use some improvement in this, especially the first map. The first map is completely useless to where you warp in and it's just the warp field. You talk to a few characters and then it's, oh, nope, that's it. Now we're going to hit another loading screen. Now, I forget if after that you drop out of warp and go into the planetary system or if you go to your ready room. I think it's your ready room next, but I think an easy way to avoid this was to either just go to your ready room or after you're in that warp field, drop out of warp, and then do the cool effect Foundry authors are using where the planets appear, the warp stars disappear, and boom, you're just in the system. I think that would have been another great way to work around this transition, because people hate loading screens in Foundry missions. So, some very cool effects were used in this mission, such as there's the planet again that we mentioned. There's a really cool effect with it. It's a story spoiler, so I'm not going to say what happens with that planet, but there is a cool effect with it. The instructions on where to go in this mission could use a little improvement. We do want to talk about that a little bit because I know you really picked up on this and it kind of bugged you.
Yeah, for example, mission objectives, specifically instructions that say, like, talk to person A, go to this position, interact with this object. There are some kind of objectives in there which don't exactly tell you where to go directly, so it's a bit of a fuddle around. It's like, do I go here? Do I go there? It kind of makes up for it for the fact that there are waypoints on the map to follow, but it's better if it's usually direct in such a way.
Like, instead of saying, like at one point you're asked for a second opinion, and then And the mission objective dialogue says, ask for a second opinion. But you're like, who do I talk to for the second opinion? So you have to go around and figure out who this person is. And I think just in the mission objective dialogues on the right-hand side of the screen or wherever you put it, I think it just is better to say who you need to talk to complete it instead of just kind of leaving it vague and making people guess. Okay, there are tons of characters on Harry Mudd's ship right now, or Hannibal Mudd. I always say Harry Mudd. I don't know why. But there's tons of characters down there that you don't know which one you're really supposed to talk to. Now, there might be a hint in the dialogue there, but some people who skip through it will be like, oh, now what do I do? So always try to make your mission objective dialogue on the right-hand side of your objectives the best it can be, the clearest it can be, so even people who have no clue what they're doing in Stowe, they don't even know they're playing a Star Trek game, know what to do for your mission. So, yeah, definitely improve some of the instructions. There were a couple of Foundry limitations. The Cool Effects scene had some minor things with it that were a little bit of a Foundry limitation on its part, but it was still pretty cool. Some of the mobs, which we will get into, that you engage in combat, were reskinned Breen, and they're just humanoids, but they're breathing out frost breath, and they're shooting out ice from their eyes and stuff, and it's kind of weird. I think that could use a different mob skin. Maybe make them Orion, or I don't know. But actually, Orion could probably work. That would be funny. I don't want to spoil it why, but Orion would work.
Yeah, just leave it there.
Just leaving it there.
Yeah.
And then there's a point where you're going from your ready room back to space, I think, where you beam out, but it's not really a beam out. You're like on your. I think the same happens when you're on your bridge and you're beaming out to go to space. But again, you're on your bridge. Why would you beam out?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a little. That's a problem. You can't set it. But I've seen a few. There was one Foundry author who the bridge people used to use for the ready room. The doors used to be locked all the time, which was good because you didn't want people to walk on a bridge that wasn't theirs.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you'd beam out and then go into space. So the author had it. You walk up to the door. The doors are locked, and they don't open. You're like, I'm kind of stuck in here. And they go, oh, don't worry, we'll fix it. We'll beam you out and beam you to the bridge. So that was just a funny workaround. Now, if that was in every mission, it'd kind of get old. But just a funny workaround there. But, yeah, the technical stuff, I think, could use a lot of improvements. It scored a 5.64, our 15th ranked in tech. Not anything amazing, and it could use a few improvements, but it's not bad. It was decent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Game Master Wee Wee, what do you have to say on gameplay?
Well, to start off with, space gameplay was merely functional. There was little to do, move here, go there, interact with this, do that. Pretty generic stuff. But there were some interesting effects on a couple of occasions, but didn't exactly make up for the gameplay aspect entirely. Other than that, nothing special beyond the standard reach markers and interactable objects. Perhaps some improvement in that area could be achieved. There was no space combat. It was a mainly ground-orientated mission, unlike On Worst Enemy.
Yeah, but we didn't dock for the space combat.
No,
Again,
we
like
didn't.
We mentioned in our
In
thing,
the overall gameplay.
if it doesn't have space combat, we're not going to dock it for it because it probably wasn't meant to have space combat.
Yeah, because it'll skew the result as well. So we did include it in the overall score.
Mm-hmm.
However, ground gameplay was engaging. It was mainly dictated by the combat. However, multiple optional dialogue options from multiple characters, including members of your crew you never care about, are present. Mm. So you could talk to this person over there that you've never ever seen before, you never care about, and
like
it could be one of your DOS randomly. It's like, it gives you a bit of information, it's like, this is happening, and then you go all over there, or something. There was optional interactive objects to use, one of which contained a dialogue puzzle to solve. The rest was pretty generic overall, but ground gameplay was good in overall aspects. Ground combat was engaging. Breen groups reskinned as normal humanoids instead of Breen, as mentioned before, and it looks a bit weird, as mentioned,
it's like they're superheroes or something.
When the Breen visor cryo beam shoots at their eyes, it's like they're Superman or something. Combat itself is limited, but it's tough. This means there was not as many groups to fight, so there's very few groups to have combating on the grounds. But what groups there were, they were tough, because Breen are all stuff like that.
Yeah, I felt the groups that you engaged during the mission were interesting, but my personal feel is it could add a little more ground combat, but that's just for my playstyle. The amount of combat he put in is good, and then what you have there is interesting. It's not too grinding. I think that's pretty good still, too, that it's not a grind fest. We're just going around killing things. I know some people like that, but sometimes pointless killing should just not be in a mission. And this mission totally doesn't have that feel. Anybody you're going to kill is a threat, so it's not just go around and kill things. The combat that's there, it's good, it's interesting. Could have been a bit more, but you were happy with it, so some people are
Yeah.
gonna be happy with it.
One tip though, I recommend avoiding cryo grenades.
Oh
Normally you see them from arcade soldiers and arcade guards, but because of the reskins and the renames, you don't know who they are.
yeah.
So if you get stuck in one, you're stuffed unless you roll out or have a good medic with you. So look out for lieutenant reskinned mobs. Those will most likely shoot the cryo grenades.
I think
Especially
that's
against
just
cryo-
good advice overall in Star Trek Online. Is if a
Yeah.
player or a
When
brain is
fighting the brain,
chucking,
do that.
yeah, if a player or a brain is chucking cryo grenade at you, do a Kirk roll and get out of that because you're gonna freeze. You're gonna take
But
damage.
once you get stuck in it, you're frozen. You
Yeah,
get
you
a
can't
massive health debuff. On top of that,
They're
you've got
shooting
the
at you.
visor cryo beams, you've got the cryo weapons, and you've just got melee combat from everywhere from the arcade guys as well. So
Crazy.
you have to get out of there, yeah.
So that's our tip for your Stowe gameplay in general. Avoid cryo grenades. The more you know. There, that was the tip. I'm not doing that on the show ever again either, so don't ask for it. All right,
Anyway,
anything else?
there was a puzzle, but it was optional, and it was
Yeah,
one of
very
the
cool.
optional interactive objects on the freight map.
Optional
It
stuff's always
was,
cool.
yeah, it was limited and a simple puzzle, but you have to use plain old basic logic to solve it, and I'll leave it at there. You can figure out the rest by yourself. There was a minor occurrence of replayability in the mission, but it was extremely limited. Some minor alternate dialogue, but nothing mission changing, nothing that really affects the outcome. Overall, however, the gameplay was decent but limited, and was focused more on the ground aspect of the mission. And as a result, it scored a 6.84, which put it in only a 12th place for gameplay.
So not bad. It's still pretty decent. I think, my personal opinion, the score sheet gave kind of a low replayability, and when you look at it, there's not much other reason to replay it other than just your enjoyment factor of it. I've played it probably 3 times by now, which includes our group run-through we did of it, which was hilarious, and we'll get into that in our overview talk, but I played it multiple times. You'll still enjoy it. I think it's a very enjoyable mission. In fact, here's what we have to say about it. This is some excellent storytelling here, Haverhaw. Really well written. Great fun. This mission is great fun just because of the story aspect, and that's why we wanted to cover it. There is some great humor in this mission. The dialogue is... I think the dialogue really shines in this mission just because of the humor. It's well written. It makes you chuckle. If you're playing with friends, you'll start laughing about it. I mean, we did this on TeamSpeak again, and we were just laughing about it. The people we play with were making comments over and over again of how well the dialogue was written and how funny this mission was. Mud was
Right.
nailed. I mean, he really felt like the original series character, even funnier in a way. And heck, it made them give a dilithium tip. Because I know at the end they're like, this guy's getting a dilithium tip. This was hilarious. And I know some of them, they don't give a lot of tips out. So, bonus points there. You got some tips out of that. So, if you're a fan of missions focused more on story and reading dialogue and stuff like this mission's for you. It is hilarious. It is fun. And, serious note, Haverhaw, this mission changed my life. It brought me to terms with nanopulse weaponry existing in the Star Trek universe. I mean, it's not some green Ferengi just handing these out. It's now this weapon that's valued because of Mud, because he created it, and there's a Star Trek story reason why they are in game. And originally when I saw them, I threw them out the airlock. I said, screw this event sucks. I didn't get a bug ship. Winter event was terrible. The packages you have to pay for it. But you changed it, and now I'm excited for the winter event again to get my bug ship and maybe even get my hands on to those nanopulse weapons because I've been brought to terms with them. Now if you can bring me to terms with Bajorans, you will truly be a mastermind and getting people to change their ways, to be more accepting of stuff in Star Trek. And that's what Star Trek is about bringing people together, no matter what their differences, and changing their ways. Okay, so about a week ago, we released an announcement video saying that we were coming back onto the air. But we also left a hint of, hey, tune in. There's going to be a Foundry Contest announcement with some epic prizes. I guess this is the time during the show we should probably make that announcement. So Wee, tell us, what will people be making to earn these epic rewards that we were about to mention?
People will be making a trailer.
Wait, what? Not a mission? All the other
Nope,
contests are
it's
missions.
a trailer for a mission, trailer for a single mission or a series, whichever you want, but it has to be one per player, and it must include footage from the mission, either by Fraps or demo record.
And if you don't know how to use demo record, right after this there will be a quick video walkthrough on how to use the demo record tool I threw together. Hopefully it's not too confusing. But watch it. You'll get a basic look on how to record a demo record file and set up a simple camera path, so that way you can have some demo record footage in your trailer, because demo record brings the trailer up to like another level than just standard screen capture, I think. So demo record makes it look like, oh, this is like a movie trailer or something you'd see Cryptic release, because they've released some pretty good trailers. I think we both have to agree on some of the, especially that Lockbox trailer. That was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, so send us your trailer. You get to only send in one trailer, so make it your best. One trailer per person, and it can be about any of your Foundry missions. It could be a series, it can be one, it could be a catalog trailer for all your missions. Honestly, we'll still check it out. 45 seconds length at least. And what do you want to throw?
I'd like to emphasize it has to be one of your missions.
Can't be somebody else's.
Play a mission that you submitted yourself about one of your missions, not
Yes.
somebody else's.
Yeah, so like if I want to submit a trailer, I could not make one for Alamak's mission, or for Wee Wee's mission, or for Bazag's mission. It'd have to be for one of my missions. And the same goes for everybody else. It's got to be a mission you've created in the Foundry, and show off.
Or series.
Yeah, or series, and it's got to show off trailer footage taken from that mission. So you can't just take random Star Trek clips, throw it together, and go, hey. You got to get some footage from your mission. One submission. So here we go. Quick final wrap up. One submission per player. 45 seconds in length at least. Must include footage from the mission. And just to throw in, bonus if it's a new trailer. You can still submit something that's been out for a little bit, but we'd like to see some new trailers created in this window. The deadline for submission is Friday, October 26th. That's when we'll be going through and recording that episode of Foundry Files for release on that Tuesday. The rewards are... What are people going to be getting, Wee?
We have 2 fed mirror ships for the winner. The winner selects 2, and 2 ships for second place, of whom second place can pick one of those 2 ships.
Yeah, so the winner's going to get 2 mirror ships they get to pick, and the other one gets the other 2. And then you're going to get a Lita DOF code from the Star Trek Las Vegas convention. We got our hands on one, so if you wanted to get your hands on Lita, haha, we got a code for her. That's funny because she's a hologram and code. Anyway, so you get that, and you also get a convention title or whatever with that. So the winner will get that Lita code, and then also the winner gets their mission reviewed on Foundry Files. So on that episode, we will review that mission that won the trailer contest. So automatically guarantees your review. And plus, if you send us a trailer and we like it, you'll probably get reviewed in the future too, because we might feel really tempted to play some epic missions with some epic trailers. Because that is why I think Foundry trailers are so awesome. Is that a Foundry trailer is like a movie trailer. I mean, when you see a really awesome movie trailer, you go and see the movie. And so that's how I feel about Foundry trailers. Like most of the missions I played right off the bat when the Foundry came out, when trailers were really popular, I only played missions that had really epic Foundry trailers associated with them, because it's like, oh, I have to go play that next time I log in, so I'd log in and play the mission. Now the sad thing is, people aren't really making trailers anymore just because the demo record tool is a little bugged. But you can still kind of work around it. It's just people don't really want to. But if we had trailers again coming out for Foundry missions, just more plugging towards the Foundry and getting people to play missions. And there are a few people who still release a trailer every once in a while. And so we want to make sure that art sticks around and it continues. So again, send us your Foundry trailers to foundryfiles@gmail.com. You can also send us missions to that email to for us to play and review. You can also send us feedback, such as for a poll that we're going to be having. Wee Wee, why don't you tell the people about this poll?
Well, our poll will be a question. And that question is, what Foundry asset do you want the most?
Yeah, that's a question everybody's been asking every Foundry author. So we thought, first episode, why don't we ask the big one right off the bat, is what do you want to see in the Foundry? And we'll leave a poll up on the Jupiter Force forums where you can take a vote, and then you can send us your feedback either on anywhere you're seeing this video. You can leave a comment, you can say what you want and explain it a little bit, or you can just email us at foundryfiles@gmail.com. And we might even read a few good answers that we get. So what do you want in the Foundry? What's your asset you're looking for?
preferably development more on NPC contact and group additions, such as being able them to hide, such as like beam them out or being able to construct a path for them to follow. So they're moving about like a ship or a certain base which you want them to go. I know I've had that problem in my missions, and I've had to
A
adapt to
lot
it,
of Foundry
and it's
authors
been
have.
rather frustrating that the fact this contact cannot move where I want it to go.
Yeah, a lot of Foundry authors have had that problem, and I know a lot of Foundry authors are out there going, "We want to move our NPCs. They don't just stand in the same place at all." Yeah, a lot of Foundry authors want that in the mission. Like they want to be able to move their NPCs, and that's something they've been asking for. So I know a lot of people are on the same page as you. And I don't know if a lot of people are on the same page as me. At first, now let me explain. I think one of the assets I want a lot, and after I explain a little bit, I think a lot of Foundry authors will be on board, but I don't hear a lot talking about this, is a more advanced character customization option. I mean, we have a pretty good character customization option for both the Feds and Cleons right now. So people are like, it's already pretty good. I mean, what else do you want? Well, there's a lot of uniforms missing, which probably the people who are on board with me already are like, yeah, there's like the Jupiter jackets aren't in there, and the other costume pieces aren't in there. Get them in. But what I'm also talking about is not just the stuff that's like on the C-store that hasn't made it into the Foundry yet, but I'm talking about customizable Romulans and Jem'Hadar and Cardassians, all those species. You don't have the ability to make a custom Romulan bad guy for your mission. You have to use one that Cryptic provides for you. Which some people actually... The only cool-looking one's really Hakeeb. The rest are pretty generic. So you see a whole bunch of Hakeeb Borg Romulan bosses going around being the bad guy, and you're like, why does he look like Hakeeb? Because most players are going to be like, Hakeeb was so unique-looking that I don't really think you can have another Romulan bad guy look exactly like him. So that's why I'm like, we need the ability to make our own cool-looking bad guys for Romulans and Cardassians, and they don't have to be bad guys even. They can be good guys. Just tons of customization within the character creator for any race. Like, any costume piece that has been created to this date needs to be in the Foundry, because that will just open up so many possibilities. Same with ships and such. We need to be able to customize different parts of any ship. That would be cool, too. But I'm mainly focusing on ground right now for that. And that's what I would like to see in the Foundry. So, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff people want to see in the Foundry for our next big Foundry update, whenever that is. We have been waiting for quite a while, but it's coming. We know it's coming, so... we want to know what you think, what you want in the Foundry. So let us know. Vote in the poll, and also send us the message. Let us know. And that is about it. I know you got a few plugs you want to throw out there, so why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yep. Established UGC, Primetime, all the podcasts there, Podcast UGC, broadcast, and of course the UGC Wiki. Fantastic tool for you to help learn the Foundry, how to use it properly, and of course the mission reviews that they review over there on a regular basis.
Yeah, so they're doing reviews over there. They're putting out some really great tutorials, so check it out. If you are watching this and not in the Foundry yet making missions, just because it's kind of overwhelming at first, go watch those tutorials. They'll make it a lot easier, and I'm sure if you message us, we can help you out as much. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm Admiral_Murphy. I check that as much as I can. Wee, give them your Twitter handle.
I'm Alex Wee, or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to pronounce it
tried to establish earlier, but didn't. It's OOIUE for those who don't know how to spell my name.
So it only took to the end of the episode to learn how to spell it, but we still need to learn how to pronounce it correctly, so eventually we'll know how to pronounce Wee-Wee's name, or whatever it is, so... Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into this first episode of Foundry Files while we plunge into this awesome storytelling device for who knows how long. But we are excited to cover more Foundry missions that you guys submit to us and share some epic stories with the rest of the community and cover a whole bunch of future Foundry news as we get more assets and more stuff like that and as Neverwinter comes out. So definitely keep tuning in every Tuesday, unless we take a break or something. And we'll see you next week. Oh, stick around. Demo record tutorial. Stick around. Don't get out of your seat. Sit down. You, sit back down. Demo record tutorial right now. Let's go. Alright, so let me give you a quick tutorial of demo record. Now, this is just going to be very simple on how to capture one and then how to set up a simple camera path within the demo record tool so that you can make some epic camera sweeps in your Foundry trailer. So, let's get started. Alright, so I'm in Stowe right now, hanging out on Deep Space Nine, my favorite promenade. It's my walking spot. I walk around here when I get bored over and over. Basically, I'm just going to get a demo record of me walking around the promenade. Alright, so to start, I'm going to go into your chat box and type in the following command, /demo record space, and then the title of what you want your demo file to be called. So I'm going to call mine Walk Murphy. Then you press enter, and you will now see everything will refresh, and then you will see demo recording over here on the left in red font. So now the entire zone and everything in it is being recorded. Now if you go to do a map transfer, say out to orbit Deep Space Nine, or on dock, or do something, I don't know, the demo recorder is going to stop, so it will only last as long as you're in this zone. If you map transfer, it will stop the demo record, you'll have to start a new one. So let's do some walking around. In fact, let me do another one, because that's a lot of standing around for a pointless one. So I'm just going to start a new one. So right off the bat, we can start walking. So I'm going to call this Walk Murphy 2. Alright, zone refresh, demo record has started. So walking around, and we'll run, enter the turbo lift, and just go up. Alright, so I'm going to stop the demo record by doing the command you actually saw when I stopped it before. /demo record stop. This will stop your demo record. Font will go away, and that indicates you are no longer demo recording. Now, demo records, I'd say, keep recording for about a minute to 2 at most. The longer they get, the more funky they can get when you're trying to load them back up for editing. Long ones for like a whole PvP match that might last 15 minutes, you have a very good chance of losing that. And so I'd say just do them in small increments from 1 to 2 minutes. Alright, so now that I have the demo file, how are we supposed to go and find it and edit it? Well, basically, I'm going to log out of Stow. Oh no! So now that we're logged out of Stow, I'm going to open up what I like to call, and what many people like to call, the Stow Demo Launcher. Now this is something that the player Rachel Garrett has come up with to help you easily find your demo records. There is a way to do it from the Stow Launcher, which I will show you right here.
Right, from the Star Trek Online launcher, once you log in, go to Options, and then here at the Advanced Command line, you will type in the following code, --demo_play, space, and then the name of your file, and that will bring up your demo record from the launcher.
But that way is less reliable, harder to do. This is much easier. Plus, it comes with some really nice features for like swapping out NPC costumes for other things and stuff like that. But we're not going to go into that because it's just very simple demo record editing and stuff. So, bam, I'm not updating. I haven't updated in a while. I probably should, but I haven't. I've been lazy. All right, we're going to go to date created. So the most recent one is at the top, Walk Murphy 2. Double click on to open it, and you will be taken to a screen that is very much like the one you see when you launch Stow. There we go. Alright, so as you can see here, it is starting to load up. Now, we are exactly on the path that the camera usually shows when you are running around. Now, of course, that's lame. We want to be scrolling around and stuff. So, pause the record, rewind it. Let everything Alright, so basic features here is rewind, play, pause, and all that other cool, funky stuff. That's how you're going to control the time of your demo record. Transparent just makes the overlay transparent, because when you bring up the camera path editor, it cuts off part of the window. So this isn't what's going to be entirely recorded, or that's not going to be your entire view. This is. So sometimes when you're wanting to see, okay, I'm lining up a camera shot, you probably want to be on this. You can see, okay, this is what I'm fully getting, not just the little window when it's not transparent. Now, to move the camera into free mode, hold down F2 and hold down the right mouse button. And then you can let go of F2. And then, hey, you can kind of move the camera around. And then by clicking the left mouse button, you can move a little bit. The longer you hold it down, the farther you move, and the faster. So as you can see, we're starting to move around. I don't know why you're jumping up there, but okay. And now you can start setting up a cool camera path. Now I'm just going to let this play for about a minute or two so you don't have DOFs, or BOFs and NPCs and stuff just appearing out of nowhere. So let's give it a second. Now there is no way to remove the... Captain Marshall is logged on. Thanks a lot, Captain Marshall. Not
calling me out, sorry. Anyway, so there is no way to remove that, so at least there was a way. I remember removing stuff like that. Something happened where you can't do that anymore, and I don't know why it even shows up in demo record, but whatever. The best info I can give you is either remove everybody from your friends list. If you don't want to do that, then just keep an eye out when you're taking a demo record, so that in crucial parts when you're recording, that you know that you need that footage, just make sure nobody logs on. But it can be tricky. So let's line up a camera shot. To start creating your first camera path, click the Add Path button. Just go with Easy Path. There's tons of stuff here, but I only use Easy Path because it's easy. And then you're going to set up your first camera point. We're going to start it right here because I like this scene. And remember, this is all what you're seeing right here. So I'm just keeping it off transparent right now just so you can easily see what's going on over here. You're going to add your first point, which is this is where your camera path is going to start. And each additional point you add is where the camera is going to be moving to throughout the demo record. Now you have your first path point in the path set up. But the camera is going to be at this point at 0 seconds, which is right as the demo is coming up and there are no NPCs around. So I suggest give yourself about 2 to 3 seconds while the NPCs of the zone show up and then start your action if you're trying to get action for the footage. Now, as you can see, the time code we're currently at is 3.558, and that's where I want my camera path to start because at that exact moment, this is what the scene's going to look like. And so let's go to the hold time, which is going to hold the camera here until that point. So nothing else will be going on. So 3.558. Alright, so basically by putting in the hold time there, this is where your footage is really going to start. So that's the best info I can give you onto how to easily start setting up your camera path. Is step 1, make sure point 1 has a hold time of where you want your footage to start recording from when you actually go to record it. Now I'm going to, for setting up my next camera point, I'm going to play the video for about a minute, or not a minute, a second, to about 4.426 seconds. That's what I got. Basically, it's the same shot because, hey, Nico isn't running. So, but you can move the camera a little bit, just a little bit, because remember, it's only a second between that camera point and this one. So if you go to the other side of the promenade, it's just going to zip over there. Now, if you go there slowly, it makes a more smooth camera path over to that area. So about a second later, the camera will be here, showing off exactly this scene. Now, point 2 is set up for a completely different time than this. Now, it's not too far off. You say, oh, it's only like a millisecond or something. As you go along, Easy Path has a bad time with time. And so as you put points down, the gaps between each point gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So like between a small point, for right now, it's like a second. But as you keep adding points, the times between those points goes to like 5 seconds, then 10 seconds, then 20 seconds. So you get to the point where your camera's just creeping along. So the best way to do this is to manually put in the time codes. So here we go. The next, about a second later, the camera will be here. Now Nico starts walking, so I'm going to move the camera here. Plug in the time. And pretty much it's just repeat. Play the video for a second. Move the camera to where you want it. Add the point. Plug in the time. And repeat. So let me just do that a couple times, and we'll have a camera path set up. Alright, there we go. So that's the camera path I'm going to have set up for this tutorial and this scene. So now, in order for demo record to notice you've actually done anything and you actually set up a camera path, you're going to have to save your camera path. Now anytime you change even one thing, you must save. So, if there's a little star like there was before there, that means, hey, you need to save so I can know your changes that you made to your camera path or whatever to the demo file. So now it's saved, and now, here we go. This is the camera path we got. Okay, so here we go. The demo has recognized that we have a camera path set up, and now we get to play it. Now, do remember, when you're playing it, if you have this up, you're only seeing part of it, you can take off your camera path editor, which will take away the camera path line that we'll be showing, which you can kind of see it there. And you'll be able to see the entire thing of your demo record. Here we go. So here's the path I have set up. There's Captain Marshall logging on. That's a very important part. There we go. That's the demo record of Nico Murphy running into the turbolift on DS9. Alright, so there's nothing in Stow that will let you record these into playable video formats. You have to use something like Fraps or other stuff out there to record your footage. You can set up the window and just record it from there. There's also another major downside to demo record, and this is something Cryptic has shown no intention of fixing, even though they wish they could. So Cryptic, get on this, because this is what's kind of killing demo records in Foundry trailers. Foundry NPCs that you make within the Foundry do not show up in demo record. Yeah, I know. It sucks. So say you make Helena, because she's not an NPC that comes in automatically from your standard NPCs that you're given. So like all the Federation Starfleet security officers that are in the Foundry right now, for everybody, no matter what, you don't have to make it. Those are seen in the demo records. Something you make just for that mission, like a Helena, that's not going to show up in your demo record. Which, that kind of sucks, because maybe you have a scene where she's talking to someone and the Gorn's coming up to kill her, like from Helena and back. You're not going to be able to get footage of that because Helena's not there. Probably the Gorn is, though, because it's not a customized Gorn. If it's just a standard one, that will show up, but Helena will not. And the same goes for any other standard NPC you see. So it's kind of a downside with using demo record for Foundry trailers, which is why they've kind of been on the decline, which sucks, and that's why we're having this competition, because we really think Foundry trailers are a great way to plug your missions and to get people to play them, because if they see a really cool trailer, it's just like a movie. You go and see it. In Stow, you go and play it. And it's a great way just to market, and it's a cool little art that people have been doing. Demo record is an awesome tool, and I really think Cryptic should start taking more looks at it, because people are doing machinima projects, Foundry trailers, tons of stuff with this tool. It's really cool. There's more tutorials out there on like YouTube and such on more of the options you have within demo record. Definitely check them out if you're planning on using this tool for multiple projects. But this is just the basics on getting you into the demo record tool to use it for your trailer, because it shows just another level of awesomeness in Foundry trailers in Star Trek Online.
Podcast idea. Tell me about it. All right, here we go. What's the one thing this game has tons of, and people are always excited about? Lockboxes. So I recommend we start up and entirely devote it to the Lockbox podcast. So we talk about the different lockboxes that come out, your chances of getting all the items in it, the Lobby store economy and how awesome that is, and getting like all the different items, your chances of getting all that stuff, the time ship, how cool that is, because we all know the temporal lockbox was really cool. I mean, come on, everybody. Wee wee. I think he liked that idea. He's probably going to get some like cool lockbox gizmo, or maybe not.